The latest now on President Trump's retribution campaign against his political opponents. Sources confirmed to ABC News that his former personal attorney will seek criminal charges against former FBI Director James Comey. Trump installed her as U.S. attorney after firing her predecessor because the predecessor refused to indict Comey, citing insufficient evidence. Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce has the story. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, George. And this would be the first criminal case against one of President Trump's main critics. The president has long demanded that the DOJ prosecute and go after James Comey. And this morning, sources tell us that federal prosecutors plan to do just that and go ahead and try to seek charges going against the recommendation of other prosecutors who have found no probable cause. This morning, after an intense public pressure campaign, sources tell ABC News President Trump's new handpicked U.S. attorney plans to give him what he's been demanding and seek to indict former FBI Director James Comey, despite other prosecutors finding there's not enough evidence to charge him with a crime.
Will you take some questions?
But Trump has been adamant, just days ago directing his Attorney General Pam Bondi to go after Comey, calling him guilty as hell, adding nothing is being done, and we can't delay any longer.
We have to act fast. If they're not guilty, that's fine. If they are guilty or if they should be charged, they should be charged. And we have to do it now.
Sources say the president forced out his own appointed U.S. attorney for Eastern Virginia, whose office had been investigating Comey for 3 months, replacing him with one of his personal lawyers, Lindsey Halligan, saying Halligan would get things moving. But when Halligan reported to work Monday, sources tell ABC News prosecutors presented her with a memo recommending that Comey not be charged with the crime, saying there was not enough evidence. But sources tell us Halligan is prepared to seek an indictment anyway, that she will soon attempt to convince a grand jury there is probable cause to charge Comey with lying to Congress and obstruction of justice. Halligan, an insurance lawyer, has never prosecuted a criminal case in her career or presented evidence to a grand jury. And she's racing the clock. The statute of limitations to seek an indictment against Comey runs out next week. Comey is Trump's longtime nemesis, ever since the president fired him early in his first term.
Lordy, I hope there are tapes.
Trump blames Comey for the investigation into Russian interference in his 2016 campaign. But he's also a controversial figure for Democrats, many of whom think he cost Hillary Clinton the presidency by reopening the investigation into her private email server just 11 days before the 2016 election, only to clear her days later. The president has been demanding federal prosecutors use the criminal justice system to go after his political opponents, including New York Attorney General Letitia James, Democratic Senator Adam Schiff, and former National Security Advisor John Bolton, whose home and office the FBI searched last month related to allegations he possessed classified documents. While on the flip side, his administration is dropping investigations into Trump's allies, closing a probe into his border czar Tom Homan for allegedly taking $50,000 in an FBI sting operation, money the White House says Homan never took. Earlier this year, the Justice Department also dropping its corruption case against New York City Mayor Eric Adams in an apparent attempt to free Adams to cooperate with the president's federal immigration agenda. And the president has been pardoning his political supporters, like Paul Walzak, a Florida businessman who pleaded guilty to tax crimes. According to the New York Times, Walzak's mother has raised millions for Trump's campaigns, and this year attended a $1 million a person fundraiser at Trump's Mar-a-Lago club, though it's unclear what, if anything, she donated to attend. Trump also pardoning reality TV stars Julie and Todd Chrisley, who were convicted of bank fraud and tax evasion. Their daughter, a speaker at the 2024 Republican National Convention. Democrats are also accusing the Trump administration of weaponizing the Securities and Exchange Commission, with Senator Elizabeth Warren saying the SEC now serves friends of the president, pointing to businessman Devin Archer, a former business partner of Hunter Biden who shared details of their relationship to appeal for clemency after he was convicted of defrauding investors. He was pardoned by Trump, but later faced additional fraud charges before the SEC. Earlier this week, his case was dropped. Others point to Chinese billionaire Justin Sun, who invested $75 million on a crypto coin backed by the Trump family and saw his own civil fraud case, which began in 2023, put on hold earlier this year after Trump returned to office. Now, Halligan, we're told, is still planning to move ahead with this case against Comey, but the bar for indictments like this is high. DOJ policy is that prosecutors should only seek to bring charges if they believe they can obtain a conviction. And other prosecutors have already warned Halligan they don't think the evidence is there. George.
Okay, Mary, thanks. Let's bring in our chief legal analyst, Dan Abrams. You know, Dan, President Nixon was forced out of office in part for using the Justice Department to go after his adversaries, protect his allies. We just saw the pattern there of what's been going on in the Trump administration. And this move to indict Comey, the latest example, probably the most egregious.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's the how it went down, and then there's the potential case, right? The how it went down immediately becomes a concern, which is the U.S. attorney appointed by Trump decides there's not enough evidence to move forward here. And by the way, that's what his line prosecutors apparently thought as well. President Trump doesn't like that answer, announces publicly he thinks there's a great case, puts in his own personal lawyer who has no prosecutorial experience, right? She's an insurance lawyer who's now put in that position. And suddenly, with the statute of limitations looming, it seems that they're now going to seek an indictment against Comey. But then you look at some of the facts, right? And I dug into every statement that Comey has made. And it's going to be a really hard case if they bring this. Because for perjury, you have to prove the person knew what they were saying was false. And you go through each of the statements about leaks and about the investigation. Much of this stuff has been reviewed by the Inspector General already. But this is going to be
reviewed by the predecessor in the U.S. Attorney's Office who said there wasn't enough evidence to bring charges. So what happens next?
Well, so look, we'll see if the grand jury moves forward, right? It's typically pretty easy to get a grand jury indictment, but we've seen in cases like these, including with this administration, a grand jury say no.
D.C., they're saying no.
That's right. Beyond that, you've got the possibility a judge could throw it out. And after that, as we saw, by the way, with special counsel John Durham, you could just get acquittals by a jury if it gets to that point.
Dan Abrams, thanks very much.